Be me, Abigail, 48 years old, mother of Stephen, my beautiful boy, who I raised to be better than other men. Thanksgiving 2023. Hosting dinner at our house, like always. My husband, Kenneth, is in the kitchen, doing his usual thing. Not because I make him, obviously. We share duties equally because I'm not some 1950s housewife. Stephen is coming home from college for the weekend. Haven't seen him in 2 months. Excited to see my son. Also, my father-in-law, Robert, is coming. Kenneth's brother, Derek, and his wife, Janet. Whole family gathering. Spend all morning preparing. Kenneth keeps giving me these looks. Asks me, Abigail, can we just have one normal dinner? I ask him what he means by that. He sighs and goes back to basting the turkey. Typical. Doorbell rings at 3 p.m. It's Robert, Kenneth's dad. Big guy, former construction worker. Exactly the kind of man who doesn't understand how the world has changed. He shakes my hand, doesn't even try to hug me. Anymore. Learned that boundary years ago after I explained why unexpected physical contact is problematic. He mumbles Abigail and walks past me. Kenneth greets him warmly. They do that backslapping hug thing men do. Derek and Janet show up 20 minutes later. Derek is one of those guys who thinks he's funny, always making jokes that I have to deconstruct. Janet is sweet, but completely asleep at the wheel when it comes to her own oppression. Works part-time and does all the cooking and cleaning. I've tried to talk to her about it. She just smiles and changes the subject. Stephen arrives last. My heart jumps when I see him. My boy. But something is wrong. He looks thin, dark circles under his eyes. When I hug him, he barely hugs back. Hi, Mom. His voice is flat. Ask him how school is going. Fine. That's all he gives me. Fine. We all sit down for dinner. Kenneth carved the turkey. Everyone is passing dishes. Normal small talk. Robert asks Stephen about his classes. Stephen mentions he's taking a literature course. I light up. Finally something I can engage with. Oh, what are you reading? Please tell me they're including diverse voices and not just dead white men. Stephen stares at his plate. It's a survey course, Mom. Different periods. I press on. But surely they're interrogating the canonical bias, right? The way the literary establishment has systematically excluded women and minorities. Stephen cuts his turkey into smaller and smaller pieces. I guess. Derek clears his throat. Abigail, pass the gravy. I hand it to him. Notice Robert and Kenneth exchanging glances. Janet is very focused on her green beans. Something feels off. The energy at this table is strange. Trying to lighten the mood, I bring up something I read this week. You know, I was reading about how traditional family gatherings like this one actually reinforce patriarchal structures through ritualized gender performance. Literal silence. Everyone has stopped chewing. Kenneth closes. His eyes. Stephen's fork clatters onto his plate. Mom, please. Stephen's voice cracks. He's gripping the edge of the table. Please, not today. I'm confused. Honey, I'm just trying to have a meaningful conversation. No, you're not. His voice is getting louder. You're doing what you always do. Robert sets down his fork, looks at Stephen. You okay, son? Stephen is breathing hard. His eyes are getting red. No, Grandpa, I'm not okay. He looks at me. I'm not okay. And I haven't been okay for a really long time. My stomach drops. Mother's instinct kicking in. Stephen, what's wrong? What happened? He laughs. It's bitter, not like him. What happened? What happened? He's standing now. Everyone is frozen. You happened, Mom. You happened to me every single day of my entire life. Kenneth reaches for Stephen's arm. Son, maybe we should... No, Dad. Stephen pulls away. You've been telling me to talk about this for years. You said I should tell her, so I'm telling her. Turns. back to me. His face is red, tears streaming down. Do you know why I came home this weekend, Mom? I shake my head. My throat is tight. Because my roommate Tyler told me I needed to. Because last week, a girl in my philosophy class asked me to get coffee and I had a panic attack in the bathroom for 45 minutes. My hand goes to my mouth. Stephen. A girl asked me to coffee and I couldn't breathe. Derek leans forward. His voice is hard. Abigail, what the hell did you do to this kid? I'm spinning. I don't understand. I raised him to be respectful, to understand consent, to be terrified. Stephen is shouting now. You raised me to be terrified of half the human population. Robert stands up, all 6'3" of him. He's angry, really angry. I've never seen him like this. Abigail, I've bitten my tongue for 20 years watching you parent that boy. His voice is shaking. 20 goddamn years while you filled his head with poison. I stand up too. Poison? I taught him to respect women, to understand the reality of, shut up. Kenneth never yells. Never. In 25 years of marriage, I've heard him raise his voice maybe twice. But he's yelling now. He's standing, hands flat on the table. For once in your life, Abigail, just shut up and listen. I sit down, feel like I've been slapped. Janet has tears running down her face. She's holding Stephen's hand. Kenneth is pacing now. Do you remember when Stephen was 7? Of course I do. I remember everything about raising my son. Do you remember what you told him when he said he thought Emma from his class was pretty? I remember Emma. I remember that conversation. I told him that he needed to be careful about objectifying girls, that beauty is a social construct used to... He was 7, Abigail. Kenneth slams his hand on the table. He was 7 years old and said a classmate was pretty and you gave him a 40-minute lecture about the male gaze. Stephen is sobbing now. Really, sobbing. I thought I was bad, Mom. I thought there was something wrong with me for noticing girls. His whole body is shaking. I was 7 and I thought I was a predator. Derek stands up, walks over to Stephen, puts his hand on his shoulder, then looks at me. His face is stone. I need to say something I've wanted to say for 15 years. Janet whispers, Derek. No, Jan, she needs to hear this. He points at me. You are the most selfish person I have ever met in my entire life. I start to respond. Don't. Robert's voice cuts through. He's still standing. Don't you dare defend yourself right now. You're going to sit there and you're going to listen to what your son has to say. Looks at Stephen. Tell her, boy. Tell her everything. Stephen wipes his eyes, takes a shaky breath. When I was 10, I asked you what dating was. I remember. I gave him an age-appropriate explanation about relationships. You told me that dating was a patriarchal institution designed to facilitate male ownership of female bodies. He looks at me. I was 10, Mom. I just wanted to know why Tommy's sister had a boyfriend. When I was 13 and going through puberty, I came to you because I was confused about the feelings I was having. Oh God, I remember that too. You sat me down and told me that male sexuality was inherently predatory and that I needed to be extremely careful about my urges because they came from the same place as rapists and abusers. Janet gasps. You told your 13-year-old son that? I'm trying to explain. I was trying to make sure he understood consent, that he didn't grow up to be what? Kenneth is in my face now. Actually in my face. To be what, Abigail? To be like me? To be like his grandfather? His uncle? I've never seen him this angry. You think we're all just one step away from being monsters. I never said that. My voice sounds weak. You've said it 1,000 times. Derek is angry too now. Every time you talk about men, like we're some monolith. Every time you make a comment about typical male behavior or masculine fragility or any of that shit you constantly say. He's standing now too. All the men are standing except Stephen, who's collapsed in his chair. You talk about men like we're defective, Abigail. And you made your son think he was defective too. Robert walks around the table, stops right in front of me. I'm going to tell you something, and you're going to hear it. His voice is quiet, but it's terrifying. I raised 3 sons, Kenneth, Derek, and their brother Paul. I wasn't a perfect father. I made mistakes. But I loved those boys, and I taught them to be good men. He's crying now. This big, tough man is crying. And you took my grandson, and you made him hate himself for being born male. I'm shaking. I don't hate men. Yes, you do. Stephen is on his feet again. Yes, you do, Mom, and you've hated them my whole life, and you made sure I knew it. He's pulling at his hair, pacing. Do you know what it's like to grow up being told that people like you are the problem with the world? Do you know what that does to a kid? He spins to face me. Every movie we watched, you pointed out the sexism. Every book I read for school, you told me about the problematic male author. Every friend I brought home, you analyzed their behavior for signs of toxic masculinity. I was trying to raise you to be conscious, to be aware, to be ashamed. His voice breaks. You raised me to be ashamed of being a boy. Kenneth sits back down, puts his head in his hands. I tried to talk to you, Abigail. For years I tried to tell you that you were going too far. He looks up at me. His eyes are red. Every time I suggested that maybe you were being a bit extreme, you told me I was being defensive, that I was exhibiting fragility, that I was trying to protect the patriarchy. He wipes his eyes. I was trying to protect our son. Derek is nodding. I remember when Stephen was 16 and he asked me about asking girls out. Looks at Stephen. You remember that? At the summer barbecue? Stephen nods. You asked me how to talk to girls, and I started to give you advice, and Abigail came over, and he looks at me. You literally pulled him away from me, told him he didn't need dating advice from me because I was part of the problem. Janet is crying harder now. I wanted to say something that day. Derek was so hurt. I'm trying to process this, trying to understand. I thought I was protecting him. Girls face so much harassment, so much unwanted attention. I wanted to make sure he never made a woman uncomfortable. Well, congratulations. Stephen's voice is dead. Mission accomplished, Mom. I will never make a woman uncomfortable because I can't even make eye contact with women. He sits back down, looks at his hands. I'm 23 years old and I've never been on a date, never kissed anyone, never held hands with a girl. Because every time I even think about approaching a woman, I hear your voice. What do you hear? Kenneth asks it gently. Stephen closes his eyes. I hear all of it. I hear men think they're entitled to women's time. I hear women don't exist for male desire. I hear there's no such thing as a nice guy. That's just manipulation. I hear approaching women in public is harassment. I hear men need to leave women alone. He opens his eyes, looks at me. So I do, Mom. I leave them alone. I leave everyone alone. Because you taught me that being male means being a threat. Robert sits back down heavily. Jesus Christ, Abigail. He's looking at me like I'm a stranger. Do you understand what you've done? Do you actually comprehend this? I'm crying now. I never meant. I was just trying to answer him. Derek slams the table. Do you understand what you did to your son? I look at Stephen, really look at him, this thin, exhausted, broken young man, my baby boy. I thought I was helping. My voice is barely a whisper. Helping? Kenneth laughs bitterly. You know what you were doing. You were using our son as your personal project, your little woke experiment. You wanted to raise the perfect, non-toxic male, and you didn't care what it cost him. He stands again, starts pacing. Every concern I raised, you dismissed. Every time I said maybe we should balance your perspective with something else, you acted like I was trying to corrupt him. Derek interrupts. I want to tell you about a conversation I had with Stephen last year. Looks at Stephen. Can I tell her? Stephen nods. Stephen called me at midnight. He was having what he thought was a heart attack. Turned out to be a panic attack. You know what triggered it? Looks at me. A girl in his dorm smiled at him in the hallway. Just smiled. And he spent 2 hours convinced she was going to report him for something, for existing near her. His voice is rising. He was convinced that a woman smiling at him was some kind of trap, that she was testing him or that he'd done something wrong by being in the hallway at the same time as her. Robert leans forward. Abigail, I'm going to tell you something about men. About real men, not the cartoon villains you seem to think we are. His voice is steady now. Men are not monsters. We're not predators waiting to pounce. We're human beings. Flawed, sure. We make mistakes. But we're capable of love and kindness and respect. He points at Stephen. And that boy there, he's one of the best people I know. Kind, thoughtful, gentle. You know why? Because that's who he is naturally. Not because you spent his whole childhood telling him his nature was evil. I'm sobbing now. I read the statistics. I read about assault and harassment, and I wanted him to be different, to be better. Better than what? Kenneth is shouting again. Better than me? Better than his grandfather who worked 2 jobs to support his family? Better than his uncle who coaches Little League and volunteers at the food bank? He's right in front of me. You wanted him to be better than the straw man you built in your head. This imaginary typical man who's just a collection of every bad statistic you ever read. Janet finally speaks. Her voice is quiet. Abigail, I've known you for 18 years. She's still holding Stephen's hand. And in all that time, I've watched you suck the joy out of every room you enter. Every conversation becomes a lecture. Every interaction becomes a chance to educate someone about their privilege or their bias or their complicity. She's not angry, just sad. And I've watched you do it to Stephen worst of all, because he couldn't get away from you. He was a child and you were his mother, and he had to absorb every bit of your anger at the world. Stephen speaks again. He sounds exhausted. Do you remember my 10th birthday party? I remember. I planned it for weeks. I invited 12 kids from school, 8 boys, 4 girls. You remember what you did? Oh no, I remember now. You organized the games so they were gender neutral. You made a speech to a bunch of 10-year-olds about inclusive play and not reinforcing stereotypes. He's crying again. Tommy's mom pulled him out early, said it was too weird. 3 other kids left too. My birthday party fell apart because you couldn't just let kids play. He wipes his eyes, and when I cried after everyone left, you told me it was a learning experience, that sometimes doing the right thing is hard. Kenneth sits next to Stephen, puts his arm around him. I wanted to say something that day. I wanted to tell you that you'd ruined his party, but you were so convinced you were right. You're always so convinced you're right. Looks at me. I've spent our entire marriage tiptoeing around your ideology, afraid to contradict you because you'll accuse me of being part of the problem, of being complicit in oppression. His voice breaks. I'm your husband, Abigail. We're supposed to be partners, but you've treated me like I'm the enemy for 25 years. Derek stands up, walks to the window, speaks with his back to me. You want to know something? Stephen isn't the only one you've hurt with this stuff. Turns around. Kenneth called me 3 years ago. 2 a.m. Know what he said? Looks at his brother. He said he didn't know if he could stay married to you anymore. Said he felt like he was walking on eggshells every day, that he couldn't be himself in his own home. Kenneth is nodding, tears on his face. I've been miserable, Abigail, for years. But I stayed because of Stephen, and because there were good moments too, but mostly because I didn't want to abandon my son to be raised by you alone. I can't breathe. This can't be real. Kenneth, you never said, because you never listen. He's up again, pacing. You don't listen, Abigail. You lecture. You correct. You educate. But you don't listen. Not to me, not to Stephen, not to anyone who doesn't already agree with everything you think. Robert stands, walks to Stephen. Son, I want you to hear this. Puts his hand on Stephen's shoulder. Being a man is not something to be ashamed of. Your grandfather was a man, fought in Korea, came home, raised a family. Was he perfect? No. Did he make mistakes? Sure. But he was a good man who loved his wife and his kids. His voice is firm. Your father is a good man, works hard, treats people with respect, loves his family. Your Uncle Derek, same thing. You come from a line of good men, Stephen. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I find my voice. I never said Kenneth wasn't a good man. Yes, you did. Stephen is on his feet. Maybe not in those words, but you said it. All the time. Every time you talked about how men don't do their share of housework, Dad was right there doing dishes. Every time you ranted about men not being emotionally available, Dad was the one I talked to about my feelings because I was too scared to talk to you. He's shaking. Every time you made some comment about typical male behavior, you were telling me that Dad, Grandpa, Uncle Derek, that we were all part of some toxic group. That maleness itself was the problem. Derek walks over, stands with Robert and Stephen and Kenneth, all four of them facing me. Here's what's going to happen, Abigail. His voice is hard. You're going to stop talking. You're going to really actually listen for once in your life. And then you're going to think about whether your ideology is more important than your son. Robert nods. That boy needs help, professional help, to undo the damage that's been done. And you need to support that without trying to control it or turn it into another one of your teaching moments. Kenneth speaks. His voice is quieter now, but firm. And you and I need to have some very serious conversations about our marriage, about whether we can find a way forward where I'm treated like a partner and not like a problem to be managed. He looks at me, really looks at me. I love you, Abigail. I have loved you for 25 years, but I can't keep living like this. And Stephen can't either. Stephen is crying again, but he's also standing straighter. I came home this weekend to tell you all of this because my therapist said I needed to. Therapist. He's been seeing a therapist. I've been seeing Dr. Sarah for 6 months. She's helping me understand that the voice in my head, the one that tells me I'm dangerous and predatory and wrong, that's not the truth. That's trauma. He looks right at me. You gave me trauma, Mom. My own mother traumatized me. I'm trying to speak, trying to find words. I only tried to. I know what you wanted. Stephen cuts me off. You wanted to change the world. You wanted to fight the patriarchy. You wanted to raise a son who would never hurt a woman. His voice hardens. But you hurt me instead. You hurt me every single day of my childhood, and you were so focused on your mission that you never noticed. Janet speaks again. Abigail, I need to tell you something too. She's standing now, still gentle, but there's steel in her voice. You've made comments about my marriage, about how I do more housework than Derek, about how I'm performing traditional femininity, or whatever term you used. She walks closer. I'm happy. Derek and I have a partnership that works for us. We divide things in a way that makes sense for our family. And I don't need you to save me from my own life. She's right in front of me now. But more than that, I need you to know that I've watched you damage the people around you with your certainty, your absolute conviction that you're right and everyone else needs to be educated, and I'm not going to stand by quietly anymore while you hurt people I love. I look around the room, at all of these people, my family, all of them looking at me like I'm a stranger, like I'm the enemy. Kenneth sits back down. He's calmer, now, spent. Abigail, I need you to understand something. This isn't about your beliefs. You're allowed to believe what you want about society and gender and all of it. He looks tired, but the way you've applied those beliefs to our family, to our son, it's been cruel. It's been so focused on being right that you forgot to be kind, Derek adds. And it's been constant, relentless. There's never a break from it. Every holiday, every dinner, every casual conversation becomes a seminar. We can't just be a family. Everything has to be analyzed and critiqued and corrected. He sits down too. It's exhausting. And for Stephen, it wasn't just exhausting. It was destructive. Robert is the last to sit. He looks older somehow. I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'm going to eat my dinner because I'm too old for this much stress. He looks at me. You owe your son an apology, not one of those non-apology apologies where you say you're sorry he feels that way. A real apology where you take responsibility for what you've done. His eyes are hard. And then you need to step back and let him heal. Let him figure out who he is without your voice in his head telling him what to think about himself. Stephen sits down too. Everyone is seated except me. I sit slowly. My legs feel weak. I don't know how to fix this. It's the first honest thing I've said. Stephen looks at me. I don't know if you can, Mom. I don't know if I want you to try. That hurts. That really hurts. But if you do want to try, you have to actually change. Not just say you'll change. Actually do it. He wipes his eyes. You have to stop seeing men as the enemy. You have to stop seeing Dad as someone to be corrected. You have to stop seeing me as a project. Kenneth reaches across the table, takes my hand. I'm shocked. After everything he said, he's still reaching for me. I meant what I said about serious conversations, about whether we can make this work. He squeezes my hand. But I also meant what I said about still loving you. The woman I married, before all this consumed you, she's still in there somewhere. And if she's willing to come back, we can try to rebuild. I'm crying so hard I can barely see. I thought I was doing the right thing. It sounds weak even to me. I thought I was protecting Stephen, preparing him for the world. Stephen shakes his head. You weren't preparing me for the world, Mom. You were preparing me for your version of the world, where all men are suspect and masculinity is toxic, and I should be apologizing for existing. He stands up, walks toward the door. I'm going to go. I can't do this dinner. Kenneth stands. Son. It's okay, Dad. I just need some air. I'll be back later. Maybe. He looks at me one more time. I hope you hear us, Mom. I really do, because I miss having a mother. I miss being able to talk to you without feeling like I'm on trial. But I can't keep pretending this is normal, that the way you raised me was okay. He walks out. The door closes. Silence. Just the sound of me crying. Derek breaks it. Well, that's going to be a Thanksgiving to remember. His voice is bitter. Janet elbows him. What? It's true. Robert starts putting food on his plate. Abigail, I'm going to eat this meal because your husband cooked it and it looks good and I'm hungry. He doesn't look at me, but you need to know that everything we said here today we meant. And if you don't take it seriously, if you go back to the way you were, you're going to lose your son, permanently. He takes a bite of turkey, and probably your husband, too. Kenneth is still standing, looking at the door Stephen left through. I should go talk to him. No. Robert's voice is firm. Let him have some space. He said what he needed to say. Now he needs to process. Kenneth sits back down slowly. Janet serves herself some stuffing. We're just going to eat. After all of that, we're sitting here eating. It feels surreal. I try to put food on my plate. My hands are shaking. Drop the serving spoon. Kenneth picks it up. Doesn't say anything. Just picks it up and sets it back in the dish. We eat in silence. The worst Thanksgiving dinner of my life. Maybe the worst day of my life. After a while, Derek speaks. You know what's sad about all this? He's not looking at me. Stephen is a great kid. Smart, kind, thoughtful. He could have been confident too, happy. But instead he's terrified of half the population and thinks there's something wrong with him. Now he looks at me. And the worst part, you'll probably convince yourself that we're all just attacking you, that we're ganging up on you because we can't handle the truth, that this is just fragile masculinity or whatever. He shakes his head. But we're trying to save your relationship with your son. That's all this is. Kenneth nods. Derek's right. This isn't about attacking you, Abigail. This is an intervention. This is all of us who love Stephen telling you that you've hurt him and it needs to stop. Robert finishes chewing. The question is whether you can hear it, whether you can set aside your need to be right long enough to see the damage. He looks at me. Can you? I don't know. I don't know what I think anymore. Everything I believed, everything I thought I was doing right, it's all being torn apart. I need time. My voice is hoarse from crying. I need time to think about this. Fine, Kenneth says. Take time, but know that the clock is ticking. Stephen is 23. In a few years, he'll graduate, get a job somewhere, build a life, and if you haven't fixed this by then, he'll build that life without you in it. He meets my eyes, and I might not be far behind him. The rest of the dinner is quiet. People eat, make small talk about nothing. The turkey, the weather, anything but what just happened. I can barely eat, barely breathe. My son is out there somewhere, terrified of women because of me. My husband is sitting next to me, but feels miles away. My family looking at me like I'm a problem to be solved. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, is that I can feel something shifting in me. The defensiveness wants to rise up, wants to argue that they don't understand, that my intentions were good, that I was trying to make the world better. But then I remember Stephen's face, the pain in his eyes when he said I traumatized him, my baby boy, who I love more than anything. And I realize, maybe they're right. Maybe I did this. Maybe in trying to fight all the bad in the world, I created it in my own son. Robert stands to leave. Kenneth, thank you for dinner. It was good. Looks at me. Abigail, I hope you figure this out, for Stephen's sake. He walks to the door, stops, turns back. And for what it's worth, the world isn't as simple as you think it is. Men aren't monsters, and women aren't victims, and life is more complicated than your theories. He leaves. Derek and Janet start to gather their things. Janet hugs me, whispers in my ear, "Get help, Abigail. Real help. Talk to someone." Derek just nods at me. They leave too. It's just me and Kenneth, sitting at a table full of half-eaten food. The Thanksgiving dinner that destroyed everything. What do we do now? I ask him. He's quiet for a long time. Now. Now you decide who you want to be. The person who's always right, or Stephen's mother. He stands, starts clearing plates. Because you can't be both anymore. I sit there, in the ruins of my certainty, thinking about my son, somewhere out in the cold, afraid of women, afraid of himself, because of me. And I don't have any answers, no theories that can fix this, no framework that can undo what I've done, just the terrible understanding that I broke my own child, and I don't know how to put him back together. The Greentext ends, me sitting alone at the table, everything I built my identity on, crumbling, and my son's words echoing. You raised me to be ashamed of being a boy. I did that. I really did that. Now I have to live with it.